This is the story of an unsung hero of Desert Storm. A war machine called the Fast Attack Vehicle. February 1991. The ground assault in the Gulf War is underway. Infantry troops hit the Iraqi line just before dawn, moving into a landscape built to kill them. Minefields, sandbergs, ditches, long belts of barbed wires stretched across the desert. Heavy armor dominates the battlefield, with tanks like the M60. Despite its 30-year-old design, this main battle tank was highly effective in Desert Storm, thanks to upgrades in advanced electronics and explosive reactive armor, a type of add-on tank armor that uses small explosive charges to disrupt incoming anti-tank warheads before they can penetrate the main armor. There was another machine tearing across the desert at close to 80 miles per hour. Low, fast, and almost impossible to stop. Looks more like a dune buggy built for chaos than a military vehicle. But in the hands of U.S. forces, it's one of the most distinctive combat platforms of Operation Desert Storm. These are the Chenowth Fast Attack Vehicles, or FAVs. Lightweight, high-speed strike machines designed for one mission above all else. Get in fast, hit hard, and disappear before the enemy can react. For Operation Desert Storm, 34 coalition nations assembled a ground force of nearly 1 million soldiers, each one knowing they were heading toward one of the most heavily fortified armies on Earth. The Iraqi army they're facing is huge and hardened by 8 years of war with Iran. They're often described as one of the world's largest and most heavily equipped forces of the time. But on the edge of that massive war machine were small, agile units operating far ahead of the main advance. That's where the fast attack vehicles came into their own. Chenowth Racing Products built the FAV in the 1980s as a high-technology light strike vehicle for the U.S. Army, with about 120 produced in the original run. The concept was simple but radical. Use desert racing engineering, keep the vehicle extremely light, and trade armor for speed, mobility, and surprise. Under the hood was a rear-mounted air-cooled 2-liter Volkswagen-based engine producing about 200 horsepower. That gave the vehicle roughly a 0 to 30 time of 4 seconds, and top speeds around 80 miles per hour, depending on the load and terrain. FAVs carried about a 1,500-pound payload with a standard fuel range of around 200 miles, and with an auxiliary fuel bladder up to 1,000 miles in one brutal continuous run. Their armament varied by mission, but commonly included an M2 50 caliber machine gun, 1 or 2 M60 7.62 millimeter machine guns. Some configurations also carried an Mk-19 grenade launcher. In practice, that meant a tiny vehicle could put out serious firepower while moving at desert racing speed. On February 24, 1991, coalition ground forces surged into Kuwait, driving Iraqi units back towards the border. Among the first forces to enter Kuwait City were Navy SEALs and FAVs. Rolling into a liberated capital in a skeletal buggy might seem insane, but by then the vehicle had proven what it was built to do: move faster than the enemy, hit harder than anyone expected, and vanish before a counterattack could land. Their speed and stealth earned them the nickname Ninja Cars. FAVs could move across open desert, bypass roads, exploit gaps, and keep pace with special operations teams far ahead of conventional units. That kind of mobility was perfect for Desert Storm's fast-moving ground campaign. Of course, no armor meant any hit could be catastrophic. Critics called it the world's coolest bad idea. A combat vehicle that relied on daring more than protection. But for special forces, that risk was part of the mission. In the wide open spaces of Desert Storm, speed really could be armor. In an environment where visibility stretched for miles, a vehicle that could appear, strike, and vanish had a real tactical advantage. After Desert Storm, the Chenowth FAV was reborn as the Desert Patrol Vehicle and then refined into the Advanced Light Strike Vehicle. Still light, still fast, but upgraded for new missions in places like Afghanistan and Iraq. As the years went on, the original FAVs were phased out of regular service, but the design never really disappeared. And then the bigger idea that sometimes the best vehicle for the job is not the most armored one. It's the one that can get there first. Fast attack vehicles were more than sand buggies with guns. They were a weaponized idea. Speed as armor, mobility as firepower, and surprise as survival. In Desert Storm, that idea rolled straight into history, not as the biggest machine on the battlefield, but as one of the boldest. There was another new infantry vehicle introduced in Desert Storm, but this one weighed over 60 tons and carried a 4-man crew behind layers of advanced armor. With its decisive performance in the Persian Gulf, America's M1A1 Abrams was widely regarded as one of the finest tanks ever fielded, a main battle tank that achieved a rare balance between speed, firepower, and survivability. At the heart of the M1A1 was its German-designed 120mm smoothbore gun, capable of killing enemy tanks at ranges well over 2 kilometers, farther than many Iraqi main guns could reliably reach in Desert Storm. The range advantage meant Abrams crews were able to fire first, score hits, and move on before enemy gunners ever got a clear shot. The M1A1's fire control system was another decisive edge. It featured a fully stabilized gun, laser rangefinder, ballistic computer, and night vision systems for the commander, gunner, and driver, all designed to keep the tank fighting accurately while moving over rough terrain. The tank was powered by a 1,500 horsepower gas turbine engine, giving it a top speed of about 42 miles per hour on roads and around 30 miles per hour across country. Tank crews used to joke that you think you're getting a tank, but what you're really getting is a helicopter that just happens to float on the ground with that level of speed and responsiveness. The front 60% of the M1 was covered with Chobham armor, the top secret material developed by the British. The armor made the tank virtually immune to most anti-tank weapons. To protect the four-man crew, ammunition was stored in compartments that explode to the outside. If the tank was hit, the deadly force would expel outwards, rather than to the inside crew compartment. Perhaps the greatest aid to survivability were the intense training programs the tank crews were subjected to. Even simulators had been developed for mock battlefield training. The future generation of the tank, the M1A2, was equipped with even more advanced electronic vision systems. The Abrams tank had been criticized for high fuel consumption, and there were doubts about its reliability. However, in Desert Storm, it proved an unqualified success. Total victory in the Gulf was due to precise coordination between the air and land forces, as well as the dedication of the crews that fought in the Abrams tank and the fast attack vehicles.